maybe tell me who you are and what is your connection to Kink?
Well, I am Omar. I am the marketing manager. I am coming from Mexico. I've been living here for 5 years. And my connection with Kink, well, actually, I didn't know a lot of things about Kink before starting to work at Mr. B. But now my connection is giving me this confidence of who I am. I think like growing as a queer kid, you don't realize about all the external things that are telling you that you are wrong. And I think that the Kink had helped me to actually overcome all those things. So to be more confident about who I am, about my body, how to express, like how to play even with who I am and the Kink leather, rubber, all those kind of things. And yeah, that's what I found in Kink.
Yes, and one of your biggest fetishes, or the one that maybe started this for you, was underwear, right?
Yeah, since I was a kid.
And I find it a little bit ironic that you are today in rubber.
Well, because
you're not wearing any underwear, right?
Well, but yes, no, I am not wearing anything. But I mean, like.
As if your mother is watching them. Wearing underwear.
Like, no, mom, no, I'm not wearing. Like, no, well, I mean, yes, it's still one of my biggest fetishes. When I was a kid, I remember, going through like the supermarket and just wanting to pass by the underwear aisle because I wanted to see men in underwear, and still up to date. But like I mean,
if they see you at the underwear department
at Hema. Yes, it's gonna be me just like hiding there in an aisle. But I mean, I like wearing it, and it's always something that makes me feel sexy. But I love seeing someone wearing it. So it's.
I love that, and that's why I'm wearing my thong today for you.
Thank you, Marco.
You're welcome.
Very considerate.
I am the brand manager at Mr. B. I've been working for Mr. B for over 14 years now. Started in the store and worked my way up. So now I'm responsible for all brand and event things at Mr. B. So if you see a packaging, that's probably my idea. If you go to one of our events, I'll be there. So that's fun, and I get to work with them, which is amazing. As for Kink, I have a little bit of a different story than Omar. For me, I started really early. I knew already when I was very young that I had a fascination with leather and like plastic material. Anything shiny was for me already something.
Very young. What was the age?
I can't even remember, but maybe 8, 9, 10, something like that. I didn't know what it was. Yes.
Years old?
Yes, girl. I mean, I wasn't doing anything with it, but she knew. And also, I grew up with the internet. I'm of that age. So as soon as I was like 10, I could Google everything, which was amazing. I mean, it took 3 hours for one picture to load, but I could find it.
I think that he's lying. Like 8 years old, like the internet was not there.
Just
Girl, I'm not that old.
just 3 hours. When I did it was 6 hours.
Oh, there you go. That's our difference. Yeah. And you look everything up on your phone. So, there we are. So that was basically like a little bit of the start of it. But when I turned like 16, 17, 18, with the internet, I was more looking everything up. And I'm very inquisitive. And for me, fetish, what I find very interesting in fetish is what makes someone thick. So it's not necessarily my thing always. But if something does something to someone, I would like to know why and play with that. And that's part of the thing.
And it's also exciting, right? Because you see when somebody else gets excited.
For sure.
It makes you even more excited.
That's definitely it, yeah. But my main kink is rubber, usually wearing it. I'm not wearing it right now, so I'm just like Omar, not wearing my own fetish. And I prefer to leather on someone else. That's my dynamic, basically. Next.
Hey. Hey, girl and boys and everyone. My name is Jacob. I think most of you guys know that, but
so you just call you Jacob.
Jacob or Clark Cullen is my stage writer name. So my kink is more like being told what to do. That's no news to anyone here probably. Like a massive submissive bottom and being told what to do. And that was like way before I entered the fetish scene. And then when I came to Amsterdam, I started working at Club Church as a bartender, and I was writing a play about kink, and then I started writing for the Wings magazine. And then little by little, I just started getting actually into the fetish scene, and it was really nice. I think I've talked about this before. Like, it was one of the most instantly welcoming scenes that I had ever been part of, because I moved around a lot as a kid, so I was always new to a group of people, and the fetish scene was like one of the quickest to get into. So that was like a good sign that I'm like, yeah, this is where I belong. And because last year we did a panel, and last year I really was still, I was actually working at the office at Mr. B, and I was really, really in the fetish scene then. And then this last year, so much has changed, and I went to Madrid, and then I came back, and I started working in like advertising and different jobs. And so it's been such a different thing, because I think now that I have maybe spent less time working in the fetish scene, those personal moments when I'm having kinky experiences have become so much heightened again. So I feel like I'm new again in experiencing fetish, which is, yeah, I'm a virgin.
Born again virgin.
Yes, Daddy.
I don't know if every one of you is familiar with the concept of show and tell. It's basically what you used to do in high school, in primary school, that you could take your hamster and show it to people and talk about your hamster. So we don't have any hamsters because animal rights, but we asked our panelists all to bring an item that is dear to them, or that makes them horny, or that does something to them. And we're like, Omar, could you bring your object? I will. Yes.
It's something small, but it's very helpful.
Yes. Oh, it's small. And it comes in a nice little bag.
It's a butt plug.
It's a bag.
And this is okay, I'm gonna say it. When I started exploring more with, like, not just my husband but more people, and I hate douching. So because when I was a bottom, it was hurting a lot. And suddenly someone in this panel told me, like, well, you should douche, and then you should wear like a butt plug, and that will help with everything. And in life, like,
I need to get one of those.
Yeah. Actually, I was planning to wear it, but no. So, like, they have told us about allies, but this is a real ally. You will not you will not. It will help you to. You will get used to it, and everything will be easier. And then you will not be worried about, like, it's gonna hurt, it's gonna be painful, or something like that. And yeah, like, it's even when I'm just playing with my husband, it helps a lot, because sometimes, I don't know, you are tight. And, well, sometimes I'm tight. And this helps to open it up. Yes. And we even have a name for it. It's like el dildito.
Soon available at Mr. B.
Yeah, soon available. We have a song for it. Like, yeah, we have used it.
What is the song? Is it Taylor Swift inspired?
It's like Spanish, like, and it's like inspiring drag queens from Mexico. So it's like, just like, le pedí al DJ un dildito para olvidarme de ti. And so yeah, every time there is like, and if you use the dildito, it's like I start singing. But yeah, this is.
It's also like, I like the design. It looks a little bit like one of those things that you use to scoop honey.
Yeah, it's for that also.
What?
Like, it's organic.
Okay, thank you so much for your dildito. So, Tony, what do you bring for your show and tell?
It took me a while to decide what to bring, because after working for Mr. B for 14 years, I have a lot. So I went to the store and I stole something there. Thank you, you're holding it. My lovely assistant, everybody. I brought a eStim or Electro Play box and a plug. I really love playing with Electro because you can do a lot of things with it. It's a very like intimate and intense experience, and you can really play with the intensity. So it can be really like barely there, yeah, or you can be like, okay, okay, and especially when you're like bound, or you don't have your own control. It's nice that someone else is playing with it, and you don't have the control. And I love giving over control. That's part of my thing. So I brought this one. You can all test it later in the break. So I will be there. And test it with your hands, please.
But we did bring lube, right?
Yes. Yeah, you need to bring water. The best thing is to use water-based lube because water is a conducting substance, so you feel it better. You have a lot of different kind of toys you can attach to the box. You have different kind of plugs, dildos, but you also have cock rings, nipple clamps, etc. One note: if you're going to use the nipple clamps, let me explain something else. There are different ways to do it. You have single polar and bipolar plugs, which means, not a boring story, but you have a plus and a minus, usually with electricity, and it goes from the plus to the minus. And you have different ways of using it. So here, for instance, this is the plus, this is the minus, and the electricity goes in between the top and the bottom. So you feel it really in your swingster. But you also have plugs that have the divide in the middle, so you feel it like this. And with nipple clamps, you have ones that are bipolar, just one, so then the electricity goes through one nipple. But don't use the ones that are single polar on both, because then the electricity goes from left to right, and with your heart, it's not really a safe thing. So
careful, read the instructions and...
Yes, or ask someone at Mr. B to explain you before you buy it. That's the only thing. I mean, it doesn't happen to everybody, but that's just a small warning.
And when you have it at home, you don't get the display, right? It's,
No, the display doesn't come with the box, sadly. Yeah, it looks cute. It comes in a cute case, though.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And the third one?
Hi.
Yeah.
Jacob, what did you bring?
So I got this. Well, this is obviously because I'm in my hand. But the first time I got a puppy mask was this neoprene one from another brand, not Mr. B, but I'm not going to say them. And it wasn't it. It didn't hit.
So you had this puppy mask, you put it on,
and I didn't feel anything. And I didn't know that you're like. I'm being serious here. Like, I didn't know that you were, or that it would be possible to feel different when you put it on. Of course, you look different when you put on gear, but then this idea of actually like feeling the role or whatever, feeling the fantasy, I didn't know that was possible. And then I got this one because we were doing Folsom. Was it Folsom? Yeah, from Mr. B. And this is genuinely not like a plug, seriously. But then I got this one from Mr. B and I put it on and I really feel, and I will put it on, but I was thinking like, I'm not kidding you, like if I put this on, if somebody else puts it on me, no, I'm not asking for volunteers, but if somebody else puts it on me, it's even hotter. It's even hotter.
Do we have a volunteer
No.
who would like to help Jacob?
Any volunteers?
No one's gonna volunteer.
I can do it for you if you want.
No, it's fine. I can do it. It's just like, I might get one. Okay.
That's okay. Just show us a little on all fours, the vibe.
If I couldn't put it, oh my god.
Girl, you need help. Hold this.
I touched these parts.
But the fun thing about wearing masks for the people who haven't done it yet is that it does something with your head. It triggers something.
It really does.
It either your identity disappears, you look at yourself in the mirror and you feel the animal that you see, or the face that is not there. It's kind of hot, and it also makes you act in a different way. That's kind of horny.
I'm just gonna start
Yes.
running around it.
You start running around.
Sniffing balls and doing what I regularly do. Oh, jeez, my ear.
Better?
Yeah, it's great.
But then you can't hear me. I've got to like deep throat the microphone to hear me. Oh, sorry. I feel sexy even if I'm not behaving. Yeah, daddy.
And now I'm gonna take it off.
Okay, now thank you so much for all, taking your gear. Very cute to see. Thanks. I would also like to know a little bit about your discovery of fetish. So, could you maybe all tell us what was the very first thing that you noticed got you in the mood? Or maybe the first thing that you bought? Or maybe the first experience that you had?
Well, I think that since I started working at Mr. B, I had tried different things. But one of the things that I loved recently is bondage. I think like everybody thinks that bondage is like being in shibari and they have to just put you in the air. It doesn't have to be like that. I think that fetishes have different levels and it's up to you where to enter. And for me, bondage is like being blindfolded and like not moving my arms or my legs and just let my husband do whatever he wants. And that's very, very, very sexy, very hot because I think that all your senses just turn on. And then, because we are very visual, I think that most of people we are very visual. And
so what you're saying is you put the blindfold on, your sight disappears.
Yes.
And then all of your other senses, they take over.
They take over. Like everything that you like feel, it's stronger. Everything you smell is stronger. Like even a kiss is hotter than normal. So yes, we are playing around with that.
Well, like I said before, I'm a child of the internet when it just started, and I remember buying my first like sex toy gear, whatever. So I went online to whatever sketchy website, and I bought a dildo, a skin tone dildo. White back then, because you know that's all they had. And I bought like a really hot like leather porn DVD. No, it was DVD, bitch. I did have some VHSs as well. That's fair. But no, it was a DVD. And I bought like a yellow jockstrap and a leather harness. It was already quite expensive for when you're like 19 or 18 or whatever.
Did you already know what that meant?
Yes. I knew.
Okay, you were 16.
No, I was, I think, 17 or 18. 17 or 18, but yeah, when I was 16, I also knew. So yeah, that's what I bought. But yeah, then, of course, I still lived with my mother. So I was staying home to be sure that I was home when the package was delivered, which I was not. So there was a fun conversation to have. Okay. But my mom is great. She knows, I told her from a young age what I was into and etc. And she really accepted it. She collects all the Wings magazines and she, supports all the events. So that's very cute. Yeah, I know. Marco's mom is even, that's our biggest fan. I love her. Hi, Mom. So yeah, that was basically my first purchase, and it went all downhill from there.
Well, I didn't. Yeah. So I was living in Morocco when I was a kid, because my parents were working there. And we moved when I was like 8, and then we left when I was 16 already. So that was like most of my growing, I don't know, starting to feel things. Well, I mean, you started early, Mary. You started at 8. So I didn't start at 8. I started, maybe like 13, 14, 15. But I was in Morocco, so there was obviously gay was illegal, and I was homeschooled with my sister and my very religious parents, so it wasn't like I was, getting fetish influence in maybe normal ways. And I remember the hottest thing was the police guys there, and there was something about the fact, I think police uniform is just hot, especially if you Google a Moroccan police uniform, if you haven't yet, treat yourself, because it's hot, I think. And I think there was something hot about the fact that it was in public, and like when you're walking past a policeman, of course they didn't do it, but in my little horny brain, they're like, oh, they're gonna arrest me and handle. And the fact that it was in public, the fact that all of these thoughts were happening to me in public when I couldn't just go and like jerk off was even more elevated, because it was like, I can't do something because gay is illegal. I don't know, it was so hot. No, like the Moroccans, they did it for me. And here it's too accepting. I know this is really fucked up to say, and maybe I need therapy, but it was something about the fact that it was wrong to want that, and it was in the wrong setting to want that elevated how much I wanted it.
You have these fetishes, you have these kinks, and then you start exploring them, and at one point you're kind of okay with it, and then you have a session at home. How do you prepare for it? What do you do to have a good kink session? Let's ask your colleagues who are a little bit more
Experience.
down to get extra dirty.
Yeah. I love preparing and even cleaning up after a session. That's for me, that's whole part of the whole play. So I love, you did your douching and whatever, that's fine. But after that, you get in gear, you put all your little toys where you want it, you think about already what you want to do. And of course, I'm more of a sub, so I put everything in the hope that it gets used. But you never know.
Wishful preparing.
Yeah. And to be fair, a lot of subs are very dominant secretly anyway, so they're like, oh, let me put this here. So I like to set the scene, put the music, have nice lighting, and then, it's a nice way to start a session. But also afterwards, I think aftercare is really important, especially if you're doing a bit more hardcore play, to have that intimacy, to have, take care of your body after a whipping. And also the cleaning up for me is nice because I just can clear my head, and when it's done, and then it's a whole full rounded session. Yeah, I mean aftercare, physically, but also with the person you're playing with, especially in a dom sub situation, or if you're having like an intense fisting session. I think it's really nice to play really hard, but then have like a really more softer moment afterwards. Doesn't need to involve a lot of talking. I'm not really a big talker, but during, yes. After, it's okay. But, just, have a hug or just have a moment together, take a shower together, something like that to really, get a full circle moment. Yeah. And then kick them out.
And then you can. What is a kink that everyone should try out? What can you maybe give the audience as an advice? What should they do?
Well, I think that they should try bondage, as I said, or impact play. Also, I think while having a regular sex session, again, because I am not as kinky as them, but I like to try things, and I like to also play with that feeling, and just like a spank in the ass, that's already impact play. I don't know, cachetada. I forgot how to say that in English. Slap. Like a slap. That's also some hot. Those kind of things that you can play. Of course, I think that it's important to talk about it, and of course, because maybe the other part might not be into that. But I think that it's always nice to try and not just to follow what you are supposed to follow. And that's something that I've learned. So impact play and bondage is something that I will recommend.
And I know that you also find something else a little bit interesting, like voyeurism, right? You like to be seen, or you like to look? You like to watch?
I think that both. Yes, it's true. I really like to play with the idea of being seen. And also I like a lot to see what somebody else is doing. I cruising places. I am a little bit of control freak, and sometimes for me it will be ideal to come to the place and say yes, no, yes, and then that will be amazing for me. But that doesn't happen. So it's to learn to flow also with that vibe, and to try to forget that you are not in control. Also, I think that we need to have more conversations about a consent, and if someone says no, you should just go away, because that doesn't happen a lot.
Well, everybody should try. I think everybody should try something they haven't tried before. Whatever that is, can be very simple, can be a little bit more extreme. Well, as I said before, I think try some e-stim here and see how it feels, and maybe that's something to try. I mean, that is an investment initially, so maybe that's not the first thing, but I can recommend it. Other than that, I think water sports is really hot. Start in, the shower, because if you're I don't know, you can shower it right up. Oh, sorry, piss sex.
Swimming.
This. Yeah. You can go swimming in it, but you need a lot. Back in the day when we used to organize damage in the Radion, we used to have this really big, how do you call it? Tub thing. I don't know. It was 4 by 3 meters. where you could have water sports, sex in the dark room, which is amazing. People use it a lot, but of course I had to clean it.
Yeah, well, try water sports. Do it. Swimming. No, pissing, because it's really hot, I think. But like I tried recently a really long session. And I know that's not a fetish in itself, but when it extends past, let's say, a day, and it goes to the weekend or it goes to something more, there's suddenly this whole new play that gets involved, because you know the likelihood is that you're not going to spend those 48 hours constantly in the session or having the fetish, but you are going to still kind of carry that role out with you into the interaction, and then it becomes this whole. It's really interesting, and I sometimes find myself like wanting to step out of my body and analyze the situation, like a therapist. Like, now why do you find this interesting? But then I have to remember to just be in the. But it's super sexy. So I think try it, like whether it's like a soft spank or if it's pissing until you're like drowning in it. What's the thing that? What's the thing that they used to do in I think in Japan? Yeah, waterboarding, water sporting boarding. Water sporting boarding. That one. Yeah, just try it for a long time. Do it.
Marco, you're having us show and tell, but did you bring something?
Yes, I actually did. Yeah.
This was so natural.
I know.
I know.
I brought two things, but let's start with this one. Oh my God.
Speaking of sports,
Is this for baseball?
It is. But what I like about fetish and kinks that it also comes a little bit from a do-it-yourself place, right? Like old school kink, people went to hardware stores to get stuff to play with.
Still do.
They still do. And this is also a good example of like a normal object that you can use for sex. What do we use this for, children? Does anybody know? Fingers? Hands? Okay, so my initial intention for this was I got a bowl.com certificate for Christmas from Mr. B, I think. And I thought, what do I get on bowl.com? Let's get a little bit more out there. So I got this baseball bat because you can use it for fisting, yes. But the funny thing was that when it arrived, my beautiful boyfriend didn't really 1, 2, 3 make that connection. He was like dancing with it around in the living room, and then like doing this. And then at one point when he got the hang of how to do it, it was suddenly against my body. So he used it for impact play. And it was really fun. So my show and tell object is this multi-purpose that you can also use to play sports if you want. What was your favorite story in Mix magazine? Maybe one that you wrote, or maybe someone else's story, and why?
I have several, like one that I have written and from someone else. Well, my favorite is about cruising in Mexico City's metro. I experienced it when I was like 20 last year, and I remember not knowing what was happening. Like, it's a thing happening since the 70s. The gay community actually took the last wagon from the metro, and it's been happening there since the 70s.
Every metro or a certain line?
Now every metro. But it started... yes. No, and well, at some point the government intervened and they closed like the last wagon, and there's always a last wagon. Like that cannot be, closed. So I talk about the story and how they call it. It's called La Cajita Feliz, the Happy Meal, because yeah, I remember like the first time that it happened to me, and that someone like started following me in the metro, and I liked the guy, and not knowing what was happening, and later I understood what was actually happening. So it's a story that I really like to share because it's something that still happens up today. Go to Twitter, and you will find just look Metro CDMX, like Mexico City, and you will see very interesting videos.
Yeah, now I have to choose a story. Well, I'll start with one that I wrote myself. I think 2 issues ago, I wrote a column about 3 years later, it was called, and it was all about what happened during COVID and with the whole Black Lives Matter movement and how that changed the way I saw myself and also how I think about things, about queer rights, trans rights, and it made me really being more engaged and being more, how do you call it? Aware, but also more activist. Yes, that was the word. So I wrote a story about a little bit of my self-discovery with internal racism, homophobia, stuff like that. And yeah, I'm really proud of that story. I was like the only black kid in school. And I grew up really white. Like my friends called me their whitest or their Dutchest friends because I talk pretty like, how do you say it, the ABN, typical Dutch. And so I wasn't really in touch with my blackness. And I really discovered that in the last few years. So yeah, that was great to write about. How it has changed me. I think it's the same when I came out of the closet. Not initially, but after a while when I found my community and I started working in the community, I got really, I feel better about myself. I know who I am. I'm living more authentically, and I don't give a shit about what anybody thinks of me. And I think that's the thing that changed the most. Yeah. I mean, of course, I like all your stories. I cannot pick a favorite. But from the last issue, I told Jacob to write a loop review because he moved to Madrid. And I was like, here, you have 10 bottles of loop. Go try them out, and I want to know everything.
You moved to Madrid and he gave you
a box of loop.
10 bottles of loop.
Yeah, that was a fun one to read.
Yeah, that was a fun one to read. So we got to learn about all your escapades and also learn something about loop. So I think that was, for me, the funnest one from the last issue. How about you?
I feel like an A-star student. Thanks, baby. That's so nice. So we have a series called Class in Session, which started a few issues ago, because I'm really interested in learning myself about things, and I do that by researching when I'm writing the article, and then also sharing what I find out with other people. So I kind of like took this role on as like the teacher, and it's kind of written from like if you read it, it's written as a teacher in class. Like I say, like, okay, class, we're in session now. Take your notepads out, and I'm a teacher, and we cover some really light topics, just fun. No, we covered mental health. That was my favorite one. We covered internalized homophobia, bottom shaming. Yeah, and so that's really a nice way, because obviously the magazine is fun and it's sexy, and you can pick it up for a bunch of different reasons. But I think it's important for us to have something educational in there as well. So I really like those. But what I was going to say is because you guys had serious, proper answers, I was going to say that I liked my kinky stories. What's it called? The Subway. And I did one. I'm not going to say. I did a cowboy one, and it was super hot because I think cowboy is like my biggest fetish, and. Yeah, I know, but again, I didn't know he was going to be sitting in the. But it was really sexy, and the photos were great, and yeah, it was hot. We do a photo shoot every time for the to go along with the story. So then, not only do I get to like live out my imagination when I'm writing it, then we get to like make it come to life, and it's always super fun, and yeah, it's fun and sexy, and I think they're meant to be horny. If you don't get hard, then I'm doing something wrong.
Okay, thank you so much. This was the first panel. Do you maybe have any questions for our panelists? Is there anything you want to know about their sex lives or about their kink interests?
I can. Are you more of a sadist or masochist?
I'll just repeat the question. Kevin, our previous Mr. Rubber asked, are we more sadist or masochist? The funny thing is I've always been more sub and more masochist. But now I'm getting older, that's changing. So my whole thing is really changing, and now I'm into subs and into younger guys, and it's a whole new experience. My husband brought that out in me, which is really fun. So I got to re-experience fetish from a different perspective.
So it's kind of fun because when you grow older, and this is my own experience, is that a whole different market suddenly starts to be interesting.
Also, we're daddy all of a sudden.
Yeah,
Who knew?
it's also kind of
Yeah.
hot, right?
Yeah.
If there's
Yeah.
interest, why not?
Yeah, why not? How about you?
Well, I think there is a part in me. One of my fantasies is to have someone to clean my house and pay me to clean my house. And really, I have this fantasy of saying like, it's not clean here. Like, you cannot live like this. So I think that I might have like some masochists there. I don't know. Yeah, if you know someone that is looking to clean a house and pay me, like, well, I can take it for free, but I will be so happy. Yeah.
And trust me, last year you also already asked, right? Because and the people are not showing up. Lazy.
Yes.
Lazy. They are
Yes.
lazy.
No, and I want someone that does it right. Like it's not gonna be just like and I am willing to invest in the entire fantasy, and I'm gonna give them what they want.
You
So
will find one.
yes,
Spread the word.
cross fingers.
Yes.
Spread the word.
For the people watching online, leave a comment below.
I know that I'm going to be excommunicated from the fetish scene because can someone, what is masochistic?
That's fine. I'm not going to give the whole long story about masochistic is that you're being more sub and more into pain, and sadist is more giving pain.
Oh,
So we know.
That one, yeah, we all know. There's that second one, yeah. Sorry. Wow, I'm learning.
I wanted to ask, because you brought up long-term sessions, and I want to ask for some advice. Because when me and my boyfriend do like long, like, I don't know, 40 hours of play, he takes hours to get out of it. And I go from techno to Enya and like this. So I want to know if somebody has any advice, because it's really hard to catch up. Because I'm like, oh my God, I'm ready for bed. And he's still, I don't know, looking for a third. I'm like, I'm not going to douche again. So.
It's a very familiar problem. I do love long sessions as well, like multiple hours, days, whatever. And it's hard if you're not in the same like wavelength, and one is already done and the other is not. What I usually do, I'm not the one usually over it. I always are happy to go on. But when I see that my husband is over it, then I'm like, okay, let me stop now. Let's go to bed, and then in an hour he'll be up for it again. But if you really want to stop, take a cold shower, drink a lot, or go outside. That also helps. Like the walk of shame can really get you out of the. Don't wear your gear outside. Just get your regular clothes, and be amongst the people. I used to work a lot in Amsterdam at night, and then you have a drink or whatever, and then you had to go home in the morning, and then you're in the train going back to The Hague, and everybody's going to their work. You're like. So that really gets you out of it, let's say. So that would be my advice.
I was just going to say, like, if you're not in it, because that's what I was saying, like, if it's just really long, multiple days, it's not going to be, there's not going to be that the entire time. Sorry, I don't know how to describe it. But I think that's kind of the thing that you work out. And to begin with, it can be like a little bit like, if you're not matching and someone is going, is still in that moment and you're, like you said, Enya. But I think what I've had, and I've tried this a few times, if you just, I literally push through it or something, you start to figure out this dynamic of respecting someone when they don't want it, because, you can try and force the moment, but it's not going to be hot for the other person if they don't want it. And then you try and sort of, sit there, you do go to bed, you do watch a movie, you do kind of break from the session, but you just know the session's going to pick up at another point. So I think, I don't know, almost like just going and I think anytime I've tried to stop and be like, oh wait, no, what's happening? He's not feeling it, or I'm feeling it, and then you start to you remove yourself from the situation by thinking about that.
Yeah, and just communication. I think it's really important. Just talk about it.
And question: is your boyfriend in the audience?
No.
Good. Then if it keeps going like this, then maybe you should get another boyfriend.
She went there.